Hello and welcome to the Amicable Divorce Network podcast. I am your host, Tracy Moore-Grant, and I am the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. And our podcast is discussing any issues that impact people and professionals before, during, and after divorce. And today I am joined by Stephen Bradley, who, if you're listening to this podcast, you most likely already know Stephen. He is very experienced in the area of stalking in particular, which is what we're talking about today, and not because he is a stalker, but because he has a long history of training specializing in domestic violence, sex crimes. He is a former agent with the FBI and has a long history of investigating cybersecurity as a specialty. He currently works with OurFamilyWizard and also as a consulting expert. And so we are very pleased to have Stephen here today. Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, thank you, Tracy, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to your listeners. It's going to be a good, hopefully informative yet scary segment.
It's always scary when Stephen talks to us. I think we're always then double checking our devices and really getting a little bit scared about what is available out there. So the first topic I wanted to talk to Stephen about today is a question that I see people asking a lot online, and professionals are always posting about this, and that is spyware. And so the best way I know to describe this is if you have a client that feels like they're on the Truman Show and they feel like somehow mysteriously their partner knows this private information, and how is that happening? And often that is spyware. Is that correct, Stephen?
That is correct. That is correct. It's actually the number one tool that we see today being used. There's a big misnomer when it comes to technology or technology offenders, let's just say, that they think they're IT computer experts, and they're not. I mean, they're keyboard warriors. They go to Google and say, how's the best way to stalk my partner? And unfortunately, spyware is one of the first tools that pops up, mainly because it goes on your cell phone. We carry our cell phones everywhere we go. We carry them to the bathroom. So what better way to get information off somebody than to put it on their cell phone? So yes, unfortunately, it's probably the number one tool next to trackers alone that's being used today.
So the spyware is actually a program that somebody who wants to stalk you and learn about your whereabouts and on all of that can put on your cell phone. So where do they get it, and how do they put it on your phone?
Right. So it is what it is. Basically, it's a software. You're correct, that clones your cell phone. So everything that you do on your phone, I get a duplicate copy of. So be text messages, your social media, online dating accounts, your communications, phone calls. If you're on the phone, it tells me you're on the phone, or I can simply hit a button and join your phone call and listen to your whole conversation. So it basically clones your cell phone. But these programs, there's different ways to, and there's several hundred of these, unfortunately. People always ask me, first of all, these programs legal? If you have administrative rights to the phone, meaning it's your child's phone, it's employee-employee relationship, then yes, they're legal. You do not have administrative rights to your spouse. You do not own your spouse. So it's a different conversation. So there's a kind of this gray area as far as the legality behind them. But for divorce and separation or for partners, it's very clear that this is an illegal program. However,
so let me just stop you there and ask a quick question. What, because I know we're going to get this. What if it's a family plan, or what if the spouse paid for the phone and gave it to them as a gift or something like that? Does that change the answer?
It does not change the answer. So it's just like, let's take your home, for example. So you both bought this beautiful home. We live in this home together. I cannot put hidden cameras in our bathroom that we share because it's our home. You still have a right to privacy. So again, you don't have administrative rights to your spouse. Your spouse still has a right to privacy. We do have, I guess, administrative rights or rights to our children. It's a lot different because we're still trying to guide them, mold them, and be their parents. So I have seen families put this on their children's devices just to make sure they're being okay. But again, you don't have those rights over your spouse. Yeah, there's actually civil and criminal penalties.
Yeah, people really don't understand that. And so as a divorce attorney myself, what I would say when somebody would say they have some sort of rights to the phone would be, well, maybe the value of the phone, if it's an $800 phone, maybe that's some sort of asset. But what you're talking about really gets into the data, the communication, and what somebody's doing on their phone, which they have an absolute right to privacy in. So let's go back to, how do they get this on your phone?
So yeah, and this is the scary part. These things are widely available. There's apps in the App Store. There's websites you can go to download them. The most common way today to download is actually through the cloud. So a lot of people, when they're going through divorce or separation, professionals will tell them, "Hey, change your passwords to your accounts. Make sure that your spouse cannot get into your account." Well, that's great, but when it comes to spouses or partners in general, I know a lot of information about my partner. I know what high school she went to. I know what car she drove, her favorite color. Nobody ever talks about the security questions. So I changed my password, but I didn't change my security questions to get into that account. So now if I can get into your iCloud account, I can now monitor not just your phone, but all your devices, your iPad, your MacBook, your whatever, if it's connected to the cloud. Also, another misnomer I hear a lot is, well, I don't have an iPhone, so I don't have an iCloud. All cell phones today have a cloud. That's how cell phones work.
Yeah.
So you have a cloud whether you know it or not. So yes. So there's ways to do it. You can download it to the device itself. You can download it to a cloud, or you can even remotely install it today, which is very scary.
So if two people are separated, they don't even live together anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How can one spouse do this to the other one if they don't have the physical phone?
Right. So this is for educational purposes only. Please don't do this, anyone.
Don't do this. As he mentioned, this is a felony and a
yes,
state
it is
and
a
federal
felony.
crime. But
again, the cloud. If I'm not in the same home as you, I don't have access to your device, but I do get access to your cloud, or I've previously given myself access. I can very easily drop it into your cloud, or put your cloud information into a program in order to monitor. The scary part of this whole conversation is a video on YouTube that came out recently. And last time I looked, it had 4.2 million views, where a gentleman, I'll call him that loosely, basically came up with a way to remotely install this on anybody's phone in the world. Not even my partner. All I need is your name and your phone number, and I can put this on your cell phone. And basically the way that works, it involves a process called spoof calling. Spoof calling is where you call somebody, you change your caller ID, for lack of better words, to pretend to be somebody else. So they'll put in like Verizon Wireless, they'll put in the toll-free number, and they'll call them up and say, "Hey, sorry, we had this data breach and we need to do a browser reset on your phone real quick. We have two options. You can mail us your phone and we'll mail you a refurbished one, or you can just take 2 or 3 minutes and we can do a browser reset. What would you like to do?" Well, nobody wants to be without their phone for 2 or 3 days, and they don't want a refurbished phone. I just bought this brand new iPhone. I don't want a refurbished phone. So they take the 2 or 3 minutes to go ahead and allow them access to this browser reset. Well, anybody's ever worked with remote desktop software, meaning your IT professionals in a different building or a different state even, they have you go to a website to remote in. You can watch your cursor move around. They can fix your printer. They can do what they want to do. Well, essentially, that's what you're doing. Is you're giving them permission to get access to your phone remotely. So in the background, they're going to jailbreak your iPhone. They're going to basically allow your phone to accept these programs and install it without you ever knowing. You'll never see an app on your phone. You'll never see an icon, nothing. It hides in the background of the phone. So it's really scary.
This is the scary part. And unfortunately, when people are going through a divorce, they're not acting their best. They are acting their most desperate. They are trying to get any sort of leverage or information that they can, and they resort to things like that, which again is a crime. So let's say I think that somebody has access to my phone. What sort of clues would I have on my end to be able to verify that this is happening to me?
Oh, very good. And actually, let's take this another step further than that. Let's talk about the mental health space, because a lot of these victims are actually made out to be, this is a mental health crisis. She is crazy. There's no way possible that can do on this. That is the main tactic for offenders. So when this person comes to their attorney or to their mental health professional, he's following me, he's listening to me, he's doing this, we kind of back up and look at him. Maybe you are crazy. Mm-hmm. But again, that's the whole design behind this. So one of the ways that someone comes to me and says, "Stephen, I think there's spyware on my phone. They know my conversations, they're following me," rather than going the whole "you're crazy" route, say, "Okay, let's back up and look at this." The very first thing I always do is look at the data usage. Look at the current data usage of that device, then go back about 4 or 5 months. If there's spyware on the device, the data is going to almost double because every time you send me a message, it sends a duplicate to the bad guy. It's using twice as much data. Have the conversations. Does your battery seem to be charged more often? Well, yeah, it used to last all day. Now by lunchtime, I have to plug my phone in. Well, it's because your phone's working twice as hard. We've all been on that real long phone call before where our phone's kind of warm to touch afterwards. Well, if I just pick up my phone off my desk and my phone's warm to touch, I haven't been on it, but somebody may have been. My microphone may have been turned on listening to my conversations. My camera may have been turned on looking at my surroundings, or simply going through my files and photographs on my device. So those are the key things we've actually discovered. One thing I have heard, I have no personal experience with this. One thing I've also heard is what's called static on the line. It means every time you make or receive a phone call, within 60 seconds, you're going to hear some static on the line. If it's occasional, it's probably tower interference. If this happened every single time, what that's been identified as is, again, it notifies the bad guy that you're on the phone where he hits a button, he can join and listen to your phone call. So that static on the line is the point the person's connecting and listening to your phone call. So that's also another way we've determined.
Awesome. So I mean, just reflecting on what you've just said, they get a true clone of your phone, everything. So they can see every text message, every app, chatting within apps, these phone calls, voicemail messages. And like you're saying, if there's a live phone call, they have the option to join in if that's something that they want to hear, an attorney-client relationship or, any sort of call.
Absolutely. And the harm behind that is, let's just say it's a domestic abuse situation where now I'm seeing you're Googling a new apartment, a new job, maybe plane tickets or bus tickets. Oh my gosh, she's fixing to leave. And this, unfortunately, is when abuse escalates. And I get, again, your communication, I get your emails, you're talking to a professional, an advocate. I get to see that too. So there's a lot of harms that can come from this, more so than just being vulnerable and being spied on, which is icky in itself, but there's a lot of harm can come from it as well.
Yeah. And I think when that happens to somebody or they suspect that that's happened, you just have this entire uneasy feeling about your entire life. You question, really everything. Do I have any sense of privacy in anything that I'm doing? Because something you touched on briefly is like they can turn on the microphone. You're not even using the phone, but you're cooking in your kitchen, talking to a friend. They can hear all of that as well.
Exactly. Or even like talk with attorneys and mental health professionals, that private confidential conversation you're having with your client, the offending party or the co-party can be listening to the whole thing. And how do we combat that? How do we know? Our client just came in and told us, he's listening to me. He's following me. Okay, we think there's spyware. What can we do to protect our conversation that we're having, even about the spyware?
Yeah.
So the best thing that we identified and way to do that, to keep yourself safe, to have a private conversation, is put your phone in airplane mode. Unfortunately, you just can't turn your phone off. That's a different conversation, but airplane mode turns off every single antenna on your phone. Yes, you can turn on Bluetooth, you can turn on Wi-Fi to watch a movie on the plane, but as a whole, it turns everything off, which is also going to disconnect the communication between the bad guy, the offending party. So now you can have that safe, confidential conversation if you need to do so. Unfortunately, you cannot walk around with your phone in airplane mode because your phone becomes a brick. It doesn't work. So unfortunately, that doesn't work either. But there's times where that privacy is safety and you have to have these private things. Airplane mode is actually your friend in that case.
Gotcha. So let's say I have a client and everything, it's checking all the boxes. Their data is being used, their phone is hot. We definitely think that there is some kind of spyware on their phone. What do you do at that point?
Well, this used to be a difficult conversation because it was very difficult to remove. I've had people go get brand new iPhones and literally bring me Ziploc baggies full of brand new phones and spywares on every single one of them, because it's exactly designed it's designed to do. When you go get a new cell phone, they want to be helpful and transfer all your contacts and all your programs over to your new phone. Well, spyware is a program. It's no different. So of course it's going to jump to the new phone. Or if it's in your cloud, the first thing we do is we hook up that new phone to our cloud. So we have to have more of a different game plan. Today, a lot of our cell phone companies, I would say majority of them, are very versed in spyware. When you go there, and don't go to Best Buy, go to like Verizon, T-Mobile, whoever you use, go to them and say, look, I think there's spyware on my device. Can you scan my phone and look? So if you remember yesteryear, when you got a cell phone, they'd physically take your phone and plug it into a computer to transfer your contacts. Well, that's unfortunately the device we need. So you can't go to a Verizon that popped up last week in a strip mall because they probably don't have that computer. Go to an established store. So what they can do is they can then scan your phone as well as scan your cloud to see if it's been infected. However, some of our clients and some of his listeners may have a hurdle, barrier. I can't get to Verizon. I know he's following me or she's following me. I don't want them to know because I don't want abuse to escalate. And I don't want this to get worse. So how can you do it yourself? There are a few programs out there. One that I talk about a lot is an actual antivirus, anti-malware program, which is a great idea for anybody to have on their cell phone. We put them on our computers and our laptops, but nobody ever puts an anti-spyware, anti-malware program on their cell phone. Why not? Our phones are supercomputers. They're more than just telephones. But this program in particular is called Avast, A-V-A-S-T, and I have no affiliation with them at all. But they have an anti-spyware scanner and remover built into their free program. You don't have to pay for anything, but their free program offers a spyware scan remover. So that's how I tell people, in the safety of your office, safety of your home, you may be able to scan your own phone and see if this is out there.
And if you find it on there, you have the ability to remove it, delete it, take it off.
That's correct. It allows you to remove it as well. If it does identify it, what I ask people to do, please screenshot that, keep that for evidence in case we need that. Your attorney may need that, law enforcement may need that, but please keep that. And then you can have it removed from the device. So we have some type of a background case we have to go after somebody.
Yeah. So usually what I have seen clients do is knee-jerk reaction. They have a Verizon phone, they go to AT&T, they get a new number, they get a new phone, and they're just going to leave that other little phone in a black box somewhere and not mess with it. So if somebody goes to the trouble to get a new phone number, new company, are they at risk?
Yes, they are, because they still use the same iCloud. I've seen that scenario play out 100 times. I don't want to lose all my photographs. I don't want to lose all my communications. So even though you get to a different company, different phone, they still connect to Stephen Bradley at iCloud.com. I get all that stuff downloads right back to my phone. So if that's what you think is going to happen, unfortunately, you need a new iCloud too. Back that one up, leave it there. It's going to remain dormant. The person's not going to be able to see it, but then be able to start over with a new iCloud.
Yeah. So we're talking a lot about Apple devices, and a majority of people use that from what I understand, but this applies to Android, Samsung, all the brands. This isn't any sort of Apple specific product or problem. This can be done on any device.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. We talk about iOS. We talk about the masses. We talk about, but yes, iOS or iPhones are usually the masses, but Android is Android is easier and more vulnerable to spyware than iOS is. iOS has, proprietary securities inside the phone that prevents a lot of this from happening, but we found ways to get around that. Or Android does not. Android's open source. It's very easy to hack an Android more so than an iPhone. But yes, this is general, across the board technology today.
Yeah. And this is something that people should take seriously. So if they think that this is happening to them, it's really going to interfere with their peace of mind. It's really going to interfere, with their attorney-client relationship or their friends. They may not want to talk to people as much anymore because they feel like they're being monitored. And so there are a vast program and just some other workarounds to give you even peace of mind if you think that this is happening to you.
Absolutely
that
correct.
You can do. Yeah.
It is the spiral. I'm sorry. It is the spiral effect where people that do, once you think your phone's being monitored, you start looking at, the walls in your house, pictures. Oh my God, there are hidden cameras there. So it is a trickling domino effect where people can very quickly spin out of control. And that's where that mental health piece comes in. He's crazy. She's crazy. No, they're just made to believe that because they're second guessing everything in their life. So yes.
And it's important to know that in any jurisdiction, this is some type of crime. And the way that I've seen people try to get around it is that they gather information illegally, and then they turn around and ask, very legal discovery questions or questions in a deposition, to try to then make that legal. But the source of the information really needs to be questioned. And I think it really comes from, like you talked about initially, an education standpoint.
Correct.
Attorneys need to be educated how to help clients. So do judges when this information comes in front of them to understand technology, that it is stalking, it is illegal, and how to handle it.
Yeah. I've even heard the single party consent, two party consent versus single party consent argument. And that doesn't fly when it comes to this. These come under wiretapping statutes. This comes under different surveillance type things. Now, there's one caveat I do want to talk about that we haven't really discussed yet is remember the children. Mm-hmm. Just because I can't put this on my spouse's phone, I can put it on my child's iPad or their phone. The child's going back and forth between homes for parenting time or visitation. I may still be able to do it that way as well. So there may need to be conversations. If we think this is happening, we may not find it on mom's phone. It may be on Johnny's phone or Sammy's phone or Susie's phone. So, don't think you're out of the woods just because it's not on your phone. If you think it's happening, there's a good chance it may be happening.
Yeah. And with those devices, generally parents are monitoring location, have the Find My device turned on at a minimum because kids lose things, but also can turn the microphones on those and be listening to private conversations and different things like that. So when it comes to stalking, where there's a will, there's a way, I would say. People really,
absolutely,
they'll make it happen for them. And it's very unnerving to be the victim of stalking and to have that interfere with your life. So if people are listening, whether they're a professional or a member of the public, and they think, oh my gosh, this is happening to me, I'm in the middle of or starting a court case, I need Stephen's help. What is it that you do to help people in this area, and how can they find you?
So I do have a consulting company where I basically help people. Attorneys will contact me or private individuals, and it's just like hiring any other professional. We can help you through your situation, whether it be spyware or many other technologies we see being used today in these type of situations. Best way probably is to go through the Amicable Divorce Network to find me. That way, I know I'm readily available that way. I also work with OurFamilyWizard, which is an amazing company that helps combat a lot of these issues we see with trackers and changing of language and messages and metadata, things like that. So either way, I can be found very, very easily. But I would say for the purpose of this, contact the Amicable Divorce Network. That way we can interact together.
And you'll testify in court if needed.
Absolutely. Do expert testimony, do consulting. We'll put together a package. We'll first identify the problem, and if we need to testify, we'll testify. I'm actually a considered an expert consultant, expert witness in several states, including federal. So we can do that very, very easily.
So I always like to talk about how even complicated issues can be amicable, because people listening to this are probably like, well, this is not an amicable situation. This sounds, terrible. How would you ever resolve this? And I have had amicable divorce cases that involve spyware. And it was actually, thank you to Stephen for your training, having knowledge about that really sort of neutralized the issue, because I was able to point my client in the right direction. And when you show to opposing counsel, like, hey, this is what's going on here, it actually can lead to a very quick and promising settlement, because somebody has been proven to be engaging in some bad acts. And so it actually does not mean that you have to go into the court system, but certainly should evaluate your options. If you are being stalked, are a victim of domestic violence, you need to meet with a professional and have that taken very seriously. And so I just want to end for just a second talking about OurFamilyWizard. Stephen does work there. It is an amazing company. We love working with them. And they do have amazing co-parenting software that really takes into consideration these stalking, location, all these different types of things, and allows parents who have these very serious issues to communicate. Will you hit the highlights on some of the features that OurFamilyWizard has that would really neutralize some of these stalking behaviors?
Absolutely. So the key features of OurFamilyWizard is one's communication messaging. So we know today messaging or communication can be changed, spoofed, altered. So we know that it's because it's a closed system, everything is authenticated through there. There's a shared calendar. So that when you have an appointment, who's picking up, Billy from baseball practice or from school, it's a shared environment. So we can see that. But it's something that can be recorded. It can't be altered. You can't put something on there that happened yesterday and be like, oh, you didn't show up, because it doesn't work that way. So it's for accountability and for record keeping, if you will. We have the info page or info bank where you have the biographics and demographics of the child, all the medical information, all their homeroom teacher, immunizations, pant size, shirt size, belt size, all in one location for each child. So there's no more back and forth. Well, I didn't know. Well, it's right there in front of you. Shared expenses. You can actually pay each other through the program. So there's no more, well, the check's in the mail. No, it's not. So there's different ways, different features. One of the greatest features we have, and one I think is very useful, is for professionals, for mental health therapists or attorneys. It's the professional access, free professional access that you don't have to worry about your client coming in, seeing you. You can, at the convenience of your desk in your office, go through and download what you need to do for court purposes or for a mediation or for whatever to be able to help speed along that litigation. So it's a tool that allows you to record, document. It does away with the proverbial he said, she said, the back and forth arguments, because they know that they're being watched. They know that it's something they have to, go from point A to point B. So it's a great, great program.
And they communicate within the app on OurFamilyWizard. So if I'm a professional and I'm going to court, or I'm a guardian, or just have a case where I want to look at or see how my client is behaving or what's going on, I can log in and look at those communications, maybe do some coaching on how to do it better, but can download that. OurFamilyWizard is accepted in court because of their sophisticated software and how it can't be altered.
Right.
Now you can alter iMessages, and that's very problematic, and gets
you
back to the he said, she said. Yeah.
Correct. Another thing too is I want to caution people as well. There may be free alternatives out there, but read the terms and conditions. If something's free, you become the product. So a lot of these cases we're talking about, especially like spyware, privacy is safety. Now, do you want to give a free company, your locations and stuff to be able to give to the offender, inadvertently through a website like Spokio or Family Tree now, because you allow this free program access to your device. So there's ways, and OurFamilyWizard does the fee waiver program for those that truly can't afford the program. But it's a wonderful program to keep you safe, to do away with a lot of the technology things that I talk about for like changing messages or changing locations. Finding your locations through a photograph. A lot of people still don't realize that if you send a photograph to your co-parent because you're court ordered to, that the metadata tells me exactly where you were standing when you took that photograph.
Date, time, location.
Yeah, we scrub that. So it's a great program to keep you safe.
Sounds good. So thank you, Stephen, for joining me today and scaring the crap out of everybody as usual. I'm sure we're all just a little bit more paranoid after hearing this, but it's really great information that everybody needs to know and understand to really help people who think they're being stalked, but also prevent that from continuing on into the court system. Because if we know better, hopefully we'll do better for ourselves and for our clients. If you want to reach Stephen, have him work with you on a case, you can reach out to the Amicable Divorce Network at info@amicableddivorcenetwork.com, and we will connect you directly to him. And we'll be having Stephen back to talk about another scary issue in technology. The weaponization of technology and family law is a hot topic, and we'll have him back to talk about something else. So if there's anything you want to hear about from Stephen, do let us know.
Thanks, Tracy. And I appreciate the opportunity. And thank you, listeners. And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks.